"If I may," said the prince, "I'd rather wait here with you. What am I going to do in there by myself?" "You oughtn't to stay in the anteroom, being a visitor, that is to say, a guest." "Do you wish to see the general in person?" The lackey obviously could not reconcile himself to the thought of admitting such a visitor, and decided to ask again. "Yes, I have business," the prince began. "I am not asking you precisely what business. My business is simply to announce you." "And without the secretary, as I said, I am not going to announce you." The man's suspiciousness seemed to be increasing more and more. The prince was too far from fitting into the category of everyday visitors, and though the general had rather often, if not daily, at a certain hour, to receive sometimes even the most varied sorts of visitors, especially on business, still, in spite of habit and his rather broad instructions, the valet was in great doubt. The secretary's mediation was necessary for the announcement. "But are you really, from abroad?" he finally asked somehow involuntarily, and became confused. Perhaps he had wanted to ask. "But are you really Prince Mishkin?" "Yes, I just got off the train." "It seems to me you wanted to ask if I'm really Prince Mishkin, but did not ask out of politeness." The astonished lackey grunted. "I assure you, I am not lying to you, and you won't have to answer for me." "And as for why I've come looking like this and with this bundle, there's nothing surprising about it. My present circumstances are not very pretty." That's not what I'm afraid of, you see. It's my duty to announce you, and the secretary will come out, unless you, but that's just it, that unless. You're not going to petition the general on account of your poverty, if I may be so bold? Oh, no, you may be completely assured about that. I have other business. Forgive me, but I asked by the look of you. Wait for the secretary, the general is busy with the colonel right now, and afterwards comes the secretary, of the company. In that case, if I'll have a long wait, let me ask you, is there some place where I can smoke here? I have a pipe and tobacco with me. Smoke? The valet raised his eyes to him with scornful perplexity, as if still not believing his ears. Smoke? No, you can't smoke here, and moreover you should be ashamed of having such thoughts. Ha, very odd, sir. Oh, I wasn't asking about this room. I know. I'd have gone wherever you told me, because I've got the habit, and I haven't smoked for 3 hours now. However, as you please, and, you know, there's a saying, when in Rome. Well, how am I going to announce the likes of you? The valet muttered almost inadvertently. First of all, you oughtn't to be here at all, but in the reception room, because you're in the line of a visitor, that is to say, a guest, and I'm answerable. What is it? Do you plan on living with us or something? He added, casting another sidelong glance at the prince's bundle, which obviously kept bothering him. No, I don't think so. Even if they invite me, I won't stay. I've come simply to get acquainted, that's all. How's that? To get acquainted? The valet asked in surprise and with troubled suspiciousness. How is it you said first that you were here on business? Oh, it's almost not on business. That is, if you like, there is one piece of business, just to ask advice, but it's mainly to introduce myself, because I'm Prince Mishkin, and the general's wife is also the last Princess Mishkin, and except for the two of us, there are no more Mishkins. So you're also a relation? The now all but frightened lackey fluttered himself up. That's not quite so either. However, if we stretch it, of course, we're related, but so distantly it's really impossible to work out. I once wrote a letter to the general's wife from abroad, but she didn't answer me. All the same, I thought I should get in touch on my return. I'm telling you all this now so that you won't have doubts, because I can see you're still worried. Announce that Prince Mishkin is here, and the announcement itself will contain the reason for my visit. If they receive me, good, if not, that also may be very good. Though I don't think they cannot receive me, the general's wife will certainly want to see the eldest and sole representative of her family, and she values her origins very much, as I've heard specifically about her. It would seem that the prince's conversation was the most simple, but the simpler it was, the more absurd it became in the present case, and the experienced valet could not help feeling something that was perfectly proper between servant and servant, but perfectly improper between a guest and a servant. And since servants are much more intelligent than their masters commonly think, it occurred to the valet that there was one of two things here: either the prince was some sort of moocher and had certainly come to beg for money, or the prince was simply a little fool and had no ambitions, because a clever prince with ambitions would not have sat in the ante-room and discussed his affairs with a lackey, and therefore, in one case or the other, might he not be held answerable? But all the same you ought to go to the reception room, he observed as insistently as possible. I'd be sitting there and wouldn't have told you all that, the prince laughed merrily, which means you'd still be looking at my cloak and bundle and worrying. And now maybe you don't need to wait for the secretary, but can go and announce me yourself. I can't announce a visitor like you without the secretary, and besides, the general gave me a specific order earlier not to bother him for anyone while he was with the colonel, but Gavrila Ardalionich can go in without being announced. A clerk? Gavrila Ardalionich? No. He works for the company on his own. You can at least put your bundle down here. I already thought of that. With your permission? And, you know, I'll take the cloak off, too.